So talking a little bit more about the cold chain and what this means exactly. So you could do everything that you can possibly do on your farm to reduce the risk of Vibrio illness, to keep the concentration as low as possible by keeping the oysters cool. But then once you hand it off to someone else, we need to make sure that we know what happens after that, after it leaves your hands. So the cold chain is going to encompass processing and storage, distribution and transport, and then of course conveyance to the retailer or the consumer. So once the oysters are brought to temp, which is less than 50 degrees at that point, you'll want to have it stored somewhere between 40 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit. You can go lower than that, but you probably want to make sure that you don't freeze them unless that's your intention, is to freeze them. But we want to make sure then that there are no temperature fluctuations through the cold chain. So that temp of 40 to 45 degrees is maintained at every step of this process. So transport options up here in Alaska, I think logistics are a little bit different than they are in the rest of the country. You're relying a lot on boat transport and air transport. So you really want to work closely with those that are moving your product, that you're using proper insulated packages, ice. You're talking to the airlines. We've heard stories of airlines freezing shellfish accidentally. So if that's not what you want them to do, you need to talk to them about how is this going to be stored, and then ensuring that their refrigeration units are strong enough to keep the oysters at the proper temperature. And then you also want to talk to your dealers and transporters. Get a relationship going with them so that you know for sure this is how my oysters are going to be handled and at what temp. And if they don't have refrigeration, you want to make sure that they are packaged properly with insulated boxes and ice. You definitely do not want to rely on reefer units in trucks to bring oysters down to temp. So before they go in the truck, they need to be at temp already. So that's really important. The truck reefer units are not going to cut it. So in communicating with dealers and shippers and consumers, we have a few goals in mind. One is to ensure consistency of the cold chain, of course. This reduces the Vibrio risk, and it also preserves the quality of your product. And then also to bring greater awareness to everyone who's going to be handling your product. I think having understanding and awareness usually results in a greater buy-in, a greater compliance in what they need to do to keep the product fresh and safe. So, and of course we want to avoid illness, because we all know that when an outbreak happens, everyone's affected. It's not just the farm that the oysters came from. All growers are affected. Once it gets out there in the public and someone, in the media gets a hold of that, everyone suffers. So, and I know all of you take great pride in your product. That's one thing I've noticed about shellfish growers. They really care. They care about cleanliness in the water. They care about their product. They definitely don't want anyone getting sick. So I know you guys are already a step up in ensuring your product quality. It's really the other folks down the line that we really need to make sure that they understand why it's so important. So just building this trust, having transparency and your commitment to shellfish quality and safety, this will boost confidence in your product as well. Okay, so some tools. I mentioned the ECSGA website. They have some great brochures that can go out to retailers or consumers or transporters. So these are some examples here. They have some great points. And then I came across this website. I believe this is a Virginia oyster company, Little Wimico Oyster Company, and I think it's worth taking a look at. It's sort of a blog style page on their website, and it details the cold chain and why it's important for reducing bacterial growth. And I know sometimes it's a little bit scary for growers to talk about illness and bacteria and things that could make people sick. We don't want to scare people away from eating oysters. But if you talk about it and then you also talk about what you're doing to ensure that that doesn't happen, that builds confidence in your product, and people are more likely to say, I trust these guys. I feel like their oysters are going to be safe. So I thought this was just a really great example, this web page here, but that's something, you know, in your free time, which I know you have a lot of. But yeah, you can think about putting something like this out there. I just think it goes a long way in boosting confidence in your product, that people know what you're doing. And then some other ideas. We've created these, well, they're not cards yet, but they could be. Keep it cool, keep it fresh, safe handling instructions that can go in with each lot of shell stock that you ship out. That way, the person on the other end who opens the box, they know what they need to do. Stickers that you can put on the outside of the box, keep refrigerated. I decided not to say keep cool because we want to make sure it's going into the proper storage. It's not going in the freezer, it's going in the refrigerator. And then there are also these quality control one-time use temp logger or temp indicators that you can use, but these can actually go in each shipment and they can show when a temperature abuse has occurred. If it gets above a certain temp for a certain time, this will actually turn orange or red, and that's when you know the product is not safe. You can also put in data loggers or temp loggers